Hey SOPA viewers, so today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Kim Cameron from the band Side Effects. Kim, thank you for being here.
I'm excited to be here.
Thanks. So can you tell me a little bit about your band and how you guys got started?
I can. We're a band that is from Washington, D.C. Most of the people are, in the surrounding area of D.C. And we got together and decided we wanted to make a bigger difference on entertainment. There's too many bands out there that don't really focus on the audience themselves, meaning they don't really have them as part of the process of entertainment. So we decided we wanted to make sure we had brought entertainment back to the people. So we did a couple things. We mixed some genres together to make it more interesting of a sound, and we did that intentionally because we didn't want to sound, after the fifth or sixth song, that we sounded exactly the same as the first song. We mixed part of what the word side effects that comes from. It's a little bit of a play on words. We were trying to say, well, if we mix some genres together, meaning if we took some Middle Eastern flavors of guitar riffs and we put that against some jazz or blue notes, what would be the side effect against a rock song? So that's the way Side Effects was derived from. So we've done a couple things to make it sort of more interesting than a typical new indie band.
That's very cool. And you weren't always a performer?
No, I was
you have
not.
An interesting background.
I was not always a performer. Maybe a performer in my head or in my mind or something like that. I did start. I've always been involved with music one way or the other, but more as a, I would say, hobby, part-time type of thing. I started really focusing on it 100% about 3 years ago. I wasn't super excited about where my life was going corporate-wise. I was an IT executive and made a lot of money and, bought lots of shoes, and that was always fun. The problem was that I found myself really starting to change as an individual, not in a good way. Kind of a little harder, less, maybe personal is the right way to describe it. At a time period, like I said, about 3 years ago, my brother-in-law had contracted cancer, and so he was at a kind of a pivotal point one weekend where he had an operation, and they actually had to remove a kidney, but it was one of those where the doctor says he's got a 30% chance of living. Now the good news is he did live, so everything's great, but it did force me into some sort of life-changing events where I said, I just don't want to be that person, perhaps on a deathbed, that says, really wish I'd gone and pursued what I really wanted to pursue. So, yeah.
So you always knew you wanted to pursue something in music?
Oh, yes. That's always been a passion.
How do you feel knowing that your music has reached over 100,000 hits on YouTube? Pretty impressive.
It's pretty impressive. I'm surprised, but lots of things surprise me. I think some of that I think has been a growth spurt from the tour. So we really didn't tour outside of a show here and there, maybe to New York or down south. So we started the tour officially on February, I think it was 4th, and we took that and we put some video cameras in the bus and kind of started broadcasting that. So I think a lot of that has to do with us actually involving again the people who watch us and taking it out on the road makes a big difference as well. So it's been fun.
You had quite a huge success in 3 years. Most people work so long to obtain that. What do you think accounts for that? Do you think there's one thing in particular?
Well, I think it's probably because of my business background. Most musicians are very unstructured. Maybe that's the kindest way I can think of how to say that. They're very creative individuals, so it's hard to sort of lock them in. And because I was in the corporate world so long, I had to come up with a business plan. I had to figure out, music's like anything else. You have to develop products. You have to figure out how to market the product. You have to figure out how to make all your employees, meaning band members, happy, and so they get along, and so they're, going to work hard, and you have to figure out how to push the product out beyond your regional base. So it's all the fundamental principles, and because I had those principles as background, I think I was able to jumpstart it that other musicians haven't been able to, just because it does take that sort of detailed focus. That's what I attribute it to. I could be wrong, but that would be my guess.
And did you know all of the bandmates that you have, or how did you go about putting the band together? Band
is a fluid term, as people know. I have, thankfully, there's no wood, there's only a couch to knock on, but we actually get along really, really well. And it took a little while to do that. So, I've switched out a couple band members since the inception, but the last 2 years we've been, a very cohesive unit. Some of the switching out, one of the band members switching out is because he really was more of a jazz person, and I only wanted hints of jazz in some songs, again, to kind of keep the audience engaged and keep them, what's going to happen next? What is Side Effects going to do next? They're going to do rock, they're going to do dance, they're going to do jazz, they're going to do blues, and so some of it was that. Another band member just, travel was not something they wanted to do, and for us the next part of the plan was to go on tour. So, everybody has their own reasons, and the good thing is that all of our band members, at one point or another, we've all wished each other the best. So there's never been any kind of breakups or departures that haven't been in the most wonderful way.
That's really nice.
It is.
And so you're the lead singer of the band.
I'm the lead
singer. You're also the writer for majority of the songs.
I am. The songs are written about people I've met or about experiences I've had. It's probably, I would say 50-50% of people that I've met and experiences that I've personally had. I've made it sort of a pledge that all of our songs are going to be true stories. So there's nothing about, we have a couple that you could sort of paint as abstract feelings type of songs, but I would say for the most part they're really about individuals and what they're going through at the time. Great example is this one of our songs, which is going to be placed in a movie whenever the movie decides to go into production, and it's they chose it because I think of the content. It's about a woman who had just had a baby, and she was a very successful corporate executive. She stayed home for a couple months, and then she was supposed to go back. And when she went back, she was torn inside. I mean, to a point where, her exact words were, I feel like my head's against the wall. I used most of her words and made the song, which is called "It's Not My Time," meaning it's not my time to make me decide such hard things in my life. So it's a very sort of haunting, because she's haunted by that. So that's just an example of some of the songs that are on the 2 albums.
Where have you met most of the people that inspired your music, just in passing, or?
It's been everywhere. I met one on a plane, and I met some have been friends of mine. One was overseas, a couple about family members. So it's been, kind of sprinkled everywhere.
Do you tell them after you write?
I do tell them afterwards. I don't tell them beforehand, because usually people get a little, you think about it, somebody says, I'm going to write a song about you. I'm not sure what to do with that. Yeah. You might feel good about it, but then it makes you a little, I think, worried and nervous. I found it's better let them know later, and then they can kind of go through all the shock and everything afterwards. So